joined by Sean Tim right now, Commercial Director of Stellantis South Africa. Sean, good seeing you first.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Okay,
nice seeing you again.
Absolutely. We spent a bit of time together in the past, always good times. Sean, AutoWeek, what's it doing for Stellantis?
Well, I think it's an amazing opportunity from an exposure perspective, not just for the various brands, but also just to engage with government and looking into the future and the various policies and what the industry can bring to the country from a GDP and from a work creation and job creation perspective. So I think it's an awesome opportunity.
Well, now, hang on, I'm going to jump onto something there. Job creation. Because you're on the cusp of course, job creation in a big way.
Sure.
I mean, the factory.
Yeah.
The factory.
The factory.
What do you have a projection number of how many staff would be in the factory when it kicks in and gets up to proper production?
Yeah, so I think the key is obviously is to locally utilize people in the local environment. So obviously from a Kruger and from a Eastern Cape perspective, that's where we would target and then recruit. There's no point in taking people from existing automotive
100%,
investors already, because then you're not creating jobs.
Yeah.
So we're looking at about 1,200 people eventually in the plant. So obviously it's over a ramp-up period because the plant will ramp up. But towards the end of 2025, that's what you're going to look at, because by mid-2026 we'll start rolling cars off the assembly line.
Wow, that is amazing. And in a chat I had just now, an opinion, and it was backed up. Every job you create in this country feeds between 5 and 7 mouths. So let's average it at 6. You're talking 7,500 mouths you're going to feed that probably were unemployed until now.
So I think the key for us is, if you look at Stellantis, not just here but globally, I think that the term circular economy to them means a lot, because it's downstream, upstream, and then also local community and local community involvement. And that's exactly why we went to the Eastern Cape, to say that's where we want to set up our plant, because and working very closely with government and with the various associations and in the IDC and really looking at how do we contribute to the country.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the number I've just given is just in your factory. We're not talking about components.
I'm not even talking suppliers. So we're busy in the same space that we are setting up the plant. We're also having lots of negotiations with local suppliers, because obviously we need to get our local content up right.
What is the requirement, or not the requirement, but what is the magic number of local content?
Look, I think eventually you're not going to start off immediately, but I think eventually we need to be at a 60% minimum. I mean, down the line. So we'll probably start at a 30% and then build it up over time, and localize more components as we go along.
It's still a lovely number. That's the point.
It's beautiful.
It's massive money, as you said, the circular economy. That's the point. So it's massive in that respect. So that's your big thing. I mean, not that anything else is diminished, but that's the big thing. And it's been announced you're building Landtrek to start, right?
Yeah, we will start with the 1-ton pickup. Yeah, definitely. So we'll, as I said, it's a whole ramp-up phase, and that's just phase 1. So we'll see how that goes.
So will there be other product lines coming into the factory?
There might be. There might be. I mean, I can't say too much. I might not say too much, but I think at the moment, I think the plan is for to have what we call, our code name is KP1, which is a 1-ton pickup. Right. And then we'll see down the line. But that will be left-hand drive, right-hand drive. Yeah. So obviously we'll export probably about 60-65% of the volume, which
also is exciting for the country.
Yeah, because I mean it's beneficial to the local economy, but also you get your credits, and to be zero duty as a company also means a lot. So 65% will be exported, and the rest will be for the local market. So left-hand drive and right-hand drive.
And then, as you say, it'll long-term benefit your costings, etc. On the range you import.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the other you need to control costs. You need to make sure that you are cost competitive. Okay. I mean, there's other plants, Stellantis plants. There's, I mean, just on this continent, there's full Stellantis plants.
Wow. So
producing different product, obviously. But if you want to put your hand up, you need to be cost competitive.
100%. Sean, I know you haven't been at Stellantis all that long, but I'm going to see how I can test you here.
Sure.
Because day one, was all about heritage and history of
Yeah.
brands. Now, I'm really being unfair to you.
No,
because
no.
not only are you relatively new to the group, but
Sure.
you've also got 7 brands we're going to talk about.
Cool.
Give me
So-
your personal standouts in the Stellantis brand's history.
Well, personally, I also was quite amazed. I think, if you look at our youngest brand, which is
Yeah.
Jeep,
Mhm.
which is quite an icon brand as it is itself.
Yeah,
But if you look at Jeep, I mean, that's 1941.
yeah,
If you start looking at brands like Fiat, Citroen, Peugeot, they are over 100 years old. As a brand. I looked at an article which was March 1961,
yeah.
and basically all 6 brands that we have today
Okay.
was on the price list in 1961.
Okay.
So from a heritage perspective, that we've been here since let's call it the end 50s, beginning 60s, when there was a real boom
Yes.
in South Africa,
Right.
automotive component and OEM manufacturing. So
Okay.
that was part and parcel of that sort of growth within the industry.
Okay, now I have a personal story regarding one of your brands, and I've owned 1 or 2 of your brand cars as well in my
Good
life.
stuff.
Okay,
Hopefully a lot more in the future.
well, but I don't want to give away my age here too easily. But 1964. I don't know if you would know of the original Fiat 1500,
I remember.
the box.
I know of it.
The Minicento.
Yeah, exactly.
How's that?
Yeah.
Was the pronunciation okay?
Yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect.
Our family car. Now, I think my dad was quite forward thinking because it was brand new, not very complex. Now, fast forward 12 years later, my brother, who's 2 years older than me, got his license. They gave him the car to use. 64,000 miles on the clock after 12 years. Okay? And the deal was, he's 2 years older than me. He must find the money to buy another car within 2 years so that I can get it when I get my license.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, when you've got a car driven by, can I call them a middle-aged couple,
Yes.
and babied like that,
Yeah.
you then give it to an 18-year-old hooligan.
That's the complete opposite.
Yeah. It got flat-bedded away after
Okay.
18 months, and
Okay.
I think he got paid out scrap value.
Okay.
So I never got my 1500,
Oh.
okay?
That's not nice.
Do you know of any in South Africa?
I think yes, there might be 1 or 2, maybe 3.
I want one.
Maybe.
Or at very least, I want to get hold of one that I can.
Well,
Somebody's got one.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to challenge you
Yeah,
here.
let's see. Let's find.
Will
Let's
you
try and find
me one, at least to drive
Well, let's
and
see what we
experience.
can do.
Yeah, column shift, the whole story.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So they're
Old school.
very much so.
There
But
you go.
it's just one of these things that has bugged me for a long time.
Cool.
As I say, I've owned 1 or 2 other products of yours along the way as well. And we've got a Peugeot in the family at the moment.
Oh, awesome. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it in the family.
Yeah, the daughter bought a
There you
108.
go. There you go.
Lovely little car.
Awesome.
But look, as you say, now what I want to ask you, and I'm really going to test you now, it is some of the concentration on day one was on locally developed versions and specials. Any you can tell me?
So obviously, I think it will be more applicable once we have the factory up and running.
Yeah.
Because then you can basically do you can do your whole range or model range extension of
Yeah.
it, correct? And also serve the market and serve those segments of the market
Yeah.
which so the plan is at the moment we cover about 42-44% of the market. I mean, eventually we want to get to about 82%,
Right.
which obviously then you have that ability then to say, well, if I bring more engines,
Yeah.
or engine, let's call it engine outputs, and also then you can then, expand on your current derivatives
Yeah.
to offer that to the customer base, correct? I think that's probably the key.
But South Africa is famous for a couple of specials that I can quote. Fiat, the 131 Racing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, I think, and I've been chirping a couple of the guys in the late 70s, early 80s, the Group N Racing, where you had to build and sell.
Yeah.
And the numbers changed a few times. It was either 200 or 250 units, right?
Yeah. Great.
There was a lot of fudging of those numbers. I'm not saying you
No, obviously.
overall, okay?
No, sure.
But actually read an article the other day, literally the last 2 weeks on that 131 racing. I remember wandering in and out of Fiat dealership a number of times when that was around, and really lusting after one of those.
Yeah.
So there was that one. There was another one in the 131 range. I'll come to it just now, and of course Alpha.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Alpha.
When they were being built at Grosselin, of course.
That's pure performance and pure passion, correct?
But there was the Giulietta Group 1, which I think was a limited run. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And how can we not mention
which one?
GTV6 3-litre.
Well, that was the icon of its time.
Yeah,
and if you look at its drag coefficient and all of that at the time, it was, it was ahead of its time when it was produced.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the key, and that's the forward thinking, and hopefully, I know that you still see the same DNA coming through today.
You do. And I mean, have you seen the prices that 3 litres fetching at the last couple of Creative Rides auctions?
Yeah, it's quite, it's got a staunch following, and the guys will pay good money for it because they've got a passion for it.
The sad part is, and this applies to a lot of these limited number specials brought in South Africa, not only by you guys, that so many of them have been recognised internationally and have actually been snapped up and left the country.
They've left the country.
Which is tragic in so many ways. I mean, it's almost unfair. You know what I mean?
No, sure. But I mean, they probably get dollar-based pricing for it, so that's why they would let it go.
Correct. I mean, GTV 6 3 litres, I know a lot of them have left the country. Well, but there's also, can I tell a quick story?
Yeah, sure.
At last year's Creative Rides auction, there was one. Now, at the first auction, they got 1.1 billion. Next auction, there was one standing there. And I was standing at the car, and there were 2 aficionados having an argument as to whether this one was an original, genuine one or not. Because what has happened subsequently is a lot of guys have built their own.
Sure.
But they're not the original.
No, it's not original, exactly.
Yeah, they've done the conversion.
It's conversions on it, or they changed they mapped it differently.
Correct, yeah. And these 2 guys were arguing as to whether this one was, and the one was saying, but the dash is wrong, and this, Now, we're also going back to days, and not be horrible, where particularly Alpha, they would do funny things with some of the cars, where there were pieces put in that weren't as they should have been. Because maybe they ran out of that box, they put a different one.
Sure.
These guys were having this little argument over the car. It still fetched 1.2 million that day, so
that's
I hope it was a real one.
But that's why I say it's all about the passion and about the, it's pure adrenaline and pure passion specifically for Alpha owners. I think. That's a typical Alpha customer base, which we appreciate, and that's why I say it's you buy Alpha because of its passion.
Well, can I quote Jeremy Clarkson? You know his famous.
Yeah.
Do you know his famous quote about Alpha?
What are you?
That you cannot call yourself a petrol head until you've owned an Alpha.
So there you go.
I've owned one.
Good for you. But you're a petrol head, so it's fine.
Well, I just have to back that up. I'd love to own more.
I think
Spider would suit me, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, there's an exciting plan and product plan for Alpha.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see some new versions in the near future, which I'm not going to divulge now. But yes, there's some nice stuff coming for Alpha. So I think we want to continue with that passion. We want to continue with. I mean, you've seen recently we brought out a few special versions on the Stelvio.
Yes.
The Super Sport just came out now. And it's they are literally numbered. There's I think 300 on a global basis. We get 5.
Yeah.
And I mean they were snapped up like this.
So how do we get a look at one when it arrives?
I'll make sure my brand team gives you a shot, and then come along.
I'd love to.
Come along.
Yeah.
It will be great to showcase and do a little story about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be
love
amazing.
to do it. Yeah.
It will be great.
So we'll book that one. Okay.
Awesome. 100.
Sure. Lekker talking.
Thanks. Nice seeing you as always. Yeah. And
great stuff.
Keep up the good work. Thanks so much.
Although we haven't touched on in this, can I just say, you were telling me off camera, Stellantis numbers growing nicely at the moment.
No.
So just keep that going, please.
No, we will. And you know, we're confident it's a long-term investment for us as a company and as a brand. And yeah, we're proud to say that we're the 8th OEM now producing in South Africa.
Yeah, love that.
Awesome.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.